Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the 2025 Bataleon Surfer. That's right, it got a little bit of an overhaul for this season. This board features Bataleon's medium camber with 3BT, so what you get is traditional camber underfoot. That's going to give you all the load, pop, snap, and drive, but you have a high 3BT with side kick in the nose, so that's going to help with more optimal powder float as well as ease of entry into turns. And then you got a low 3BT in the tail that's going to give you a little bit better edge bite under there, but still some of that slight 3D shaping, so it just disengages a little bit different than a fully flat board. This board's available in 149, 154, 159, and 162. I rode this board at Coppermount on a day that was after 18 inches of snow had fallen in the previous 36 hours, so you had leftover pow with about another 6 to 8 fresh on top of it. Bluebird skies with the occasional cloud, a little bit of wind, average temps, powder groomers as well, which was always a nice little tasty thing to have, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. Since the last time I rode this board, they've actually made it a little bit softer, and you do notice that with this board. It is a fully directional flex, and there is one key flex point that you want to take notice of. So, softer nose, progressively stiffening up to the tail, key flex point right inside the rear insert pack, so when you really bend your knee towards the camber, you can flex that board up. Helps with powder float, and then the tail gets just a hair stiffer. You do have some give just due to the swallowtail shaping. I mean, this power channel in here definitely stiffens it up compared to the old Surfer. Torsionally, there is a fair amount of flex to this board. You can really ankle steer it. Now, when it comes to stability, in POW, this board is smooth sailing. You really don't have to worry about it unless you get into some rutted out chunder underneath. Then the nose will take that hit and you'll feel it under your front foot, but the center stays stable for the most part. Now, when you're on a groomer, that nose gets a little chattery at high speed, so you get some micro vibrations that resonate under the front foot. And you can get bucked around if you're just charging down a groomer and then you hit like super rutted out terrain, so keep your knees bent. So the snap is solid on this board. If you're flat basing, you can really load that camber up, roll back on the tail, and then the swallowtail kind of acts like a torsion fork and springs you and you're gonna pop. If you're popping off edge, it gets a little bit soggier. You just have more give on that tail. So when you're starting to just engage that snap, it'll twist a little bit. You do not get as much pop. So try to keep it flat based, obviously. That's how you're gonna get the most boost out of this thing. Hey, if you like what we're doing here, why don't you subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of these videos that we got coming out for you. As I said, they made this board softer in my opinion. So you have this spatula nose that is softer. You got that side kick, you got the 3BT in there, so it's a real spoon. So when you pop a 180, you can swivel around on it. You can do 360 nose rolls on it, no problem. The tail, a little bit different, trying to go sideways. Snow kind of catches in that powder channel in there, so you got to be a little bit worried about that. But if you know how to butter, you shouldn't really have a problem with this. Are you going to be able to do every butter variation? No, but after you smash some pow, you pop that 180, get on the nose, really press into it, then snap it back around, doing another 180 and continue on your way. So the big thing to note with this board is that how it carves has changed from the previous model. You have that step down rail on the sidewall, so it basically rolls in like a cap constructed board into the sidewall. Think of like the Ride Slim Wall. It's a similar concept. I know because, well, the guy that designed that designed this. And what you're actually getting is a better power transfer on edge. So this swoops into a carve and then it locks in more aggressively. And with the flex being softer on this board, you got more torsional give, so that allows you to ankle steer. Short, tight, quick carves, medium, mellow carves are not a problem. Deep, hard, aggressive carves, you do end up with an issue. That flex point right in front of the rear insert pack, if you over flex it, it will kick out on a deep, hard carve. And I'm not talking like this happened once or twice to me. It happened almost every time. So there is a little bit of a limitation with how you can carve on this when you're cutting across the resort, going from one powder patch to another. Once you're aware of it, you realize, hey, it's a powder board first, it can carve okay second. Who's this board for? The POW chasing swallowtail lover. If you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member of our Patreon. This board is drastically different than the previous model. It's got more power on edge and better edge hold in my opinion. The POW float is about the same. You do have that powder hull in the back that kind of stiffens up the tail, so you get a little more drive. The one thing is that key flex point inside the rear foot. Like I said, if you overpower this board on edge, it can wash out for you, but what's nice is when you're flat basing through POW, you flex your back knee in a little bit and you raise up the rest of that board, which works in conjunction with that side kick in 3BT. Overall, this is a great board with its progression, and I think it's more approachable with its flex. I really enjoyed this. I think it's going in the right direction with it. Also, the weight on this is lighter than it has been in previous years. The new core in there, the super tubes, all that stuff that they're using, the secret sauce, really reduced the weight on this board. It's not as damp as it was, so if you're straight lining into a full-blown icy chunder field, which you shouldn't do, you're gonna feel it, but when you're riding POW, it floats effortlessly. Comparable boards: the Endeavor Archetype, the Borealis Leviathan, the Amplid Snomellier. Binding recommendations: the Bataleon Astro Asym, the K2 Bond, the Union Force. All right, well, that's been my review of the new Bataleon Surfer. If you liked it, why don't you go watch another one of our videos on one of the comparable boards, because I'm sure that you'll like that too.